My name is Corey Williams, and I am the founder of Momentum Small Business Review. And what we do is help small businesses get found. If you have an event that's coming up or something that you want to promote, and you're a small business owner or medium-sized company, we help you promote it for free. Why? Because we can. I'm also proud and blessed to be fortunate to be a part of the Granite City Football coaching staff. I'm a proud defensive coordinator over here, and I was just provided this opportunity with Coach Boyd, and I think we're going to do some great things this year. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on one of the coaches, and he's probably not going to want to take credit for this, but he's kind of the nucleus that keeps everything together because he's been here for a year. He has the keys to the building and knows where the trash cans are and who to call for this, that,
all
and the
ins
other.
and outs.
Absolutely. So, Coach Roustio, man, welcome, man. So excited to have you on.
Yeah,
absolutely,
awesome.
Absolutely. So your interview was one of the ones I was looking forward to because I actually I don't know how I missed it because all of you guys are having babies now. I'm glad I'm going to be on. But congratulations to you and your wife.
You.
That's exciting times. You're welcome. Said a boy, huh?
Yeah, baby boy.
That's exciting.
Early August, so it'll be here.
You're gonna go. You going with Junior, or are you coming up with something else? I know you don't want to tell.
No, we actually decided on a name pretty early, which
okay.
I know some people it takes a while, but we just kind of found a name. We're going with Lincoln.
Oh, but you're putting it out there. Okay, that's awesome.
We got what we're settled on one, and Lincoln will be here early August. So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Excited. So I know we'll get too much into your past, but just so people know who you are and who's coaching their boys and those kind of things. You were a St. Louis police officer, and then have transitioned into education. So very quickly, what made you want to transition from being kind of protecting the streets to getting into school and being an educator?
Yeah. So when I tell people that I'm transitioning into education, that that's the first question they ask me is why. After going through the academy and being on the on patrol for 2 years, and I kind of just joke with them. I say, something along the lines of, I think I like keeping people out of jail more than I like taking them to jail.
That's a good thing.
You know what I mean? And I think that's just the way that God designed my heart, and I think that education, you just have such such a huge ability to impact young people and shape their lives at a young age, which is important. So I've always thought about doing it, especially early on when I was going to school. Transitioned out of that and kind of hopped around some different majors early in my academic career in college, but ultimately I've always kind of thought about getting into teaching. And obviously my father has taught and coached, and my mother was a teacher as well, so I grew up around it. And I'm blessed to have had parents that had valued in education. So
that's cool.
I can say I feel like I've truly found something that I want to do for 25, 30, 35 years, whatever it may be. So yeah,
cool. One of the I believe it was Jesus. He did a podcast a couple weeks ago with Coach Boyd, and they were the gentleman that was doing the podcast. I asked him like, who's coaches and teachers are that have influenced you, and your name came up, and I can tell you just my short couple of months here, the kids gravitate to you. You hold accountable to stuff. I think it was Eli that mentioned. No, it may have been Eli or one of the kids mentioned in this. He's like, we were kind of held accountable, but not held accountable in the past. Levi is who said it. And he was like, it's just different. Like, we're held accountable. And he used the word punished. I'm like, we don't punish you guys, but we hold you guys accountable.
There's a purpose behind what we're doing.
Yeah, there's a purpose, right? Yeah. So, I see that as I'm at practice and I'm watching things, even our little weird handshake that we have now that I started.
Yeah.
Those things make a big difference. Absolutely. Those things make a big difference. So, I think you could coach anything in high school because you're a really sharp guy. You can tell you're paying attention. You're with it. I watch when you're working with the linemen. When I'm watching, the defensive stuff, I watch what you're doing in the drills and how you're coaching and teaching. Why football, especially with the history of the last several years of the program? Why continue to coach football? Why to continue to pour into these young men in this sport?
The interesting thing I think about high school football that just sets itself, that's so different about it than all the other sports is I think it's just like the window to that school's athletics. It's the first big sport of the school year. The season really starts before the kids come in.
Right.
And there's just a different feel amongst the student body in the hallways when the football team's rocking and rolling. You know what I'm saying? And I think back to my time in high school as a student, and those are some of the memories of just being at football games and, being friends with a lot of the varsity players. And, obviously me and Kyle, Coach Thompson went to school together, and
Yep.
just some very cool experiences just surrounding football, high school football. Um, most recently, this is going into year two. Obviously last year was with my first year coaching with my father. And, last 2 years have just been an amazing opportunity for me to just dive into the game. Um, I've always been a fan of the game, always had a, pretty good understanding of the game, followed it on, high school, college, NFL, but totally different on the coaching side,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like you're getting into the weeds on everything. Why coaches do, this or that on both sides of the ball. How do we counter this? So if they do this, what's our next move? So um, I just think it's so dynamic. It's not like any other sport. I think most people, in the area, kind of know me more as a basketball guy. That was my main sport that I played in high school. Um, but I just think there's nothing like it. There's no game like it, and from a coaching aspect, it's a lot of fun. So
Yeah. That well said, and I would agree with you. I was fortunate enough. I grew up in Northern Illinois, so I'm an
mhm,
Illinois boy too, and
yeah,
it's it's amazing, and that's why I was always talking to the kids on defense. Like you and I were doing film breakdown the other day.
mhm,
One person doesn't do their job, the play is
yeah,
done.
mhm,
Like it's ultimate team sport, and then I
yeah,
always say, I can sweat and keep score, I'm in. But football is just that ultimate team sport where if
absolutely,
everybody has to do their job, and one mistake and the play is over.
yep,
Coach, why should people support our program? The kids could be out making mischief. They could be doing all kinds
yeah,
of other and the history, of the program is a strong one. When you start, I wear my GC stuff every day now, like every
yeah,
day. And when I'm out, I literally was at a business meeting the other day, and I had
mhm,
one of the sweatshirts on, and this guy, literally a waiter,
awesome,
walked up to me. He says, "That Granite City," and I'm like, "Yeah." He goes,
uh-huh,
"Oh my God, I was in St. Louis. I went to
yeah,
Granite City." He's like, "How's the football team?" I'm like,
really,
"We're gonna be good this year." And he's like,
yeah,
"I haven't been to a game since high school. I'm coming to a game this year."
awesome, awesome,
Yeah, so I'm like, "That's really
yeah,
cool." And as you were talking about, like
mhm,
Tim, the custodian at school, he's like, "What you guys are doing, you can feel it. I watching these kids coming back and forth. They all
mhm,
dressed the same. One of the cafeteria ladies, they've been feeding our boys in the morning, which is fantastic. She came up to me the other day and she was like, "Man, I've never seen it like this before. It's been a long time,
yeah,
and I
that's
haven't been to a
awesome,
football game in a long time, but I'm going this year." I'm like,
yeah,
"Yeah, we'll give you guys something to watch. We can give it our best show." So
yeah, love to hear that. That is awesome.
yeah, me too. So why should people support our program? Why should they,
Yeah,
give their hard-earned money to our program to support these boys?
mhm, um, you know, I think the again, the great thing about football is like I said, it's kind of representative of the community. I mean, these boys are going out on Friday nights and they're putting their bodies on the line, and it's Granite City across their chest. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the culture. That we've talked about, just trying to change the culture and get these boys to be proud of that GC on their chest. And going back to your point of just you wear GC gear everywhere. My wife kind of jokes with me because it's kind of taken over my wardrobe is all the
Yeah,
GC gear that I have. But everywhere I go, it's some sort of warrior gear. But
yeah,
I'm proud to be from Granite. I've lived in Granite, most of my childhood. I grew up here. Played sports here, like I said. So I've always been proud to be from Granite. Um, and yeah, man, I just think that these boys understand that people care about them and willing to invest in them. And it's an investment that's gonna I think is going to be reflected on Friday night, with the work that these guys are putting in. And it truly does take a village, right? Um, just having that mindset that, these guys know that the community's behind him, from an individual level, not only just their family or their close friends, but, businesses in the community and, different church groups and things like that. It's, those are the people that we want to come out, on Friday nights. So not even just to support us monetarily, right? But, to, be there physically and support these guys is, like I said, they're putting their bodies on the line and, playing a sport that people love to watch, right, at every level. So, I just encourage people to be open to that. But we want them out. I know you do too. We want them out on Friday nights. That's what
yeah.
makes the Friday night lights so fun is just
Oh
having
yeah,
that atmosphere where the whole community comes out and we get behind our boys, and we're really looking forward to that. I'm definitely excited for that. It'll be here very soon. But yeah.
Absolutely. If you would like to donate to our fundraiser for the GC football program, you can simply text me at 314-323-2220. I'll send out the QR code or the link for you to be able to donate. And we also wanted to give a huge shout out to US Steel, who gave a ton of money to not just the football program, but gave a lot of money to the GC athletic program, helps both the young men and the young women student athletes. So thank you, US Steel, for that. Appreciate it. And then Sissy Space, we had the last Thursday was the last day of the first week of camp. Sissy Space gave us a deep discount to get fruit and water to our young men after practice. So we appreciate that. Holly, I'm going to be connecting with her later this week. So thank you, both of those organizations, for pouring into our young men. So, Coach,
real quick, I just want to give them a personal thank you. And again, it kind of back to the last question you just asked is, all that money that is for the kids. We've been blessed to be able to get them new uniforms, new practice uniforms, travel gear, for our equipment to be reconditioned and properly fitted. So all that money is very much appreciated, and it's for the kids. So again, we put that to good use. So again, thank you to US Steel and Sissy's Place, and thanks in advance to those that plan to donate to our fundraiser. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Some of those things make such a big difference. And again, I played up in Northern Illinois. I'm not going to drop the name. When I was playing 1,000 years ago, that was one of the things that made such a difference. When you walk into practice, everybody's got on red shorts, and black shirt, or vice versa. We all look the same. I was watching film yesterday. I was telling Coach Dom this, and the film, I'm gonna send you. I screenshotted it. It almost looked like an AI picture. It was weird. We were all wearing black shorts and red shirt. It was really neat. It was clean. Everybody was lined up the way they're supposed to. I'm like, man, this looks like a fake picture. Coach, my last question, you've had an opportunity to be here and coach this program for a year. And obviously this year you've seen some change. You've been a big part of it. And I call you the nucleus of this because you kind of know where everything is, like the pictures I've been taking at practice. I didn't know where to send those. And Coach Boyd's like, give them to Coach Roustio. He knows what to do with them. Perfect. August 21st, 2026, 7:00 p.m. Freeburg's at our home turf. We walk out, we come through that gate and get ready to come on the field, that beautiful turf we have. Tell me about it.
I think the feeling is going to be one of just confidence, among not just the coaching staff, but from the players. I think that, there's going to be a level of confidence that we have prepared properly, and done what's necessary to put ourselves in a position to earn a win. We know the history of the program, haven't had a win since 2022, but there's going to be a different feeling. I think that, and the whole vibe was going to be a lot different, but not just amongst us. People are going to know. People are going to know, and I think that stems from us, that there's going to be a level of confidence that we've put ourselves in a position to not just compete, but to go out and win on Friday night.
So, the whole thing is to compete. Yeah, well said, Coach. And obviously I stand shoulder to shoulder with you with that, man. First of all, again, congratulations on the addition to your family. That's really cool. My daughter's going to be 21 in August, and I'm telling you, it feels like it went really quick.
Wow.
Now she's texting me, Dad, I just did this today, and I'm like, oh my God, why are you telling me this? But, so it's really cool. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Just for being a pouring into these young men. It's going to make a big difference, and not just this year football, but their lives. And you do an excellent job coaching. Trust me when I tell you, I'm paying attention and watching offensive guys. So it's going to be a fun year, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks for your time, Coach.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Thank you for having me on. All right.
Look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning.
All right. Take care.